to the Unleash Success podcast, where we break down the secrets of success to give you real tools and strategies that get real results. And now, here's your host, Corey Corpodian.
Welcome to the Unleash Success show. Today we've got John Walker, also known as Coach Jaywalk.
That's right.
Jaywalk is a premier speed and athletic training coach for professional athletes, and he began his career at USC Football, winning a national championship.
Two national championships. Went on to play for the Houston Texans for a few years. And then after your football career, became a consultant for the NFL, training players, and dedicated your career and your passions to opening up a gym, right?
That's correct.
And so you're a partner with Motivate Performance Center.
Yes.
And also the COO of Iron Addicts Gym.
That's right.
And even though you're a 3-time men's physique champion, which I love, competed as well, what I love about you and why I'm so excited about today's interview is just that your passions for what you do and your kindness and everything inside your heart, especially when we first met, you opened up so much. I love that about you, and just what you just said, the rawness and the authenticity, authentic. I really like that, man.
Yeah, man.
And you bring such a passion to life. So I'm really excited, and I want to welcome you to the Unleash Success show.
Thank you, brother. It's a blessing to be here. It truly is. Thank you. How's it going, guys?
So what I want to start with is just your journey. Maybe you can walk us through quickly what inspired you and motivated you.
Sure.
Starting with football, winning the championships, and going onward.
Okay. Well, I suppose we take it as far back as just being a toddler, and knowing that I came from a pretty athletic family. Like my father, may he rest in peace. He was 6'8", about 250-pound, huge dude, and he played semi-pro basketball overseas. He was in the military. But all of my uncles, my older brothers were super athletic people, and my mom was like, I believe she was like an all-city pitcher when she was in high school. So I think athletics was just kind of already embedded in the DNA of who I am as a person. And scaling up, I can remember when I was 5 years old in Chicago, my dad took me. I think it's literally like the first memory I have of walking to a sporting goods store. And I want to say it was like a Kmart, possibly. And we were in the sporting aisle, and my dad took me to where all the balls were. And I can remember looking at the little tube of tennis balls, and there were soccer balls, volleyballs, tennis rackets, baseballs, baseball bats. And there was basketball and football. And he goes, "Son, pick one." And I'm like looking up at my dad. He's a huge man. And I'm like, all right. So I'm walking, and finally I keep looking at the ball that I thought looked like an egg, an egg-shaped ball, right? But I always remembered seeing one highlight of Jerry Rice and Joe Montana. And it was, I don't know when I saw it at that age, but I saw it. And it was Jerry Rice getting open, and it was the football. So I grabbed the football and I said, "This." And my dad said, "No, no, son."
Basketball.
He grabbed the basketball. He said, "No, this one." And I go, "No, I want this one." He goes, "Well, I don't know how to teach you that one. We play basketball in my family." And he had the ball in his hand. And he goes, "This is the one, son. You got to dunk on these dudes." And I was like, "No, I want to be like Jerry Rice." And he said, "Well, all right." He put his hand on my head. God is my witness. He put his big old hand on my head, and he had a really long index finger. He was 6'8",
Yeah.
And he tapped my heart hard. I mean, he dug it in there, and he said, "Son, you're going pro." Okay. All right. "Okay, Dad." And he said, "You hear me?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "You're going pro. And we're going to keep this ball too." I said, all right.
Got to keep the basketball.
All right. So later that day was the first time I learned how to play catch as I can remember it.
And you were like 5 years old?
I was 5.
Wow.
And because my dad was in the military, so he was in and out.
Got it.
It was in and out. So it was a huge deal for him to take me to the sporting goods store. It was a huge deal for me to have a memory of walking stride for stride with him as a young man because he was always stationed away. I think he served 26, 28 years or so. So he was a lifer. And my family did separate. When I was like 8 or 9, my parents were no longer together. Mm-hmm. But it was a very definitive moment in my life. And as a young person, I interpreted a pro as whatever the stereotypical image of just someone at the highest level. Yeah. So from that moment, I purposed it in my heart to do things at what I perceived was a pro level. And that meant I got to have a 6-pack like a pro. So all my action figures that looked like ripped, I said, that's a pro. I tried to model and mimic myself after the athletes that I watched on television. So then I stopped watching as many cartoons and started to implement sports shows. So then I learned about every top athlete from every sport that I could think of. I learned who David Justice was, Nolan Ryan. I learned who John Elway was and Dan Marino. I learned what I could learn. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Joe Dumars. I just started studying things. And I was like, that's a pro, that's a pro, that's a pro. And I had to mimic what I thought a pro should do, right? But then it was my mom who added more value and said, well, son, a pro is not just an athlete. A pro is also a doctor, a lawyer, a policeman, a fireman. A pro is just someone that does their very best at the very highest level.
So I want to jump into your NFL career and just kind of going in. I know you had, we talked a little bit about success and failure. And what was kind of a moment where you really struggled with something and how did you overcome it?
I struggled in college. The NFL felt like I was equipped for it. I was ready, but only because of the preparatory work that I endured through college. I carried 22 units. I double majored. I studied 2 of the hardest things at my school at USC. And I was a scholar athlete on two national championship teams that went on a 33-game winning streak and then another 34-game winning streak under Coach Pete Carroll, who is like,
amazing.
No joke.
Yeah.
Like, this is no games. This is cutthroat island. And I struggled to connect with my peers. I struggled to make friends. I struggled to fit in. I wouldn't do a lot of the things that I needed to do to socialize with my buddies. I was on another level at that point because I decided to graduate twice. Before I got there, I said, I'm going to do something that I don't know if anyone's done. I'm going to do it twice. I'm going to take 8 years worth of content in 4, and I'm going to double major and do it the right way. And so I carried, the average athlete carries 12 units a semester. I carried 22.
Wow.
And I just didn't have the time. I kept myself occupied with growing. So I didn't party as much and I didn't get to build those relationships with the teammates. And that hurt me. It really hurt me during that moment.
Were you like upset? Did you feel alone?
You know what? I wasn't upset because I had the right people around me. I had the right friends. My coaches knew who I was and they knew that I was someone that was committed to do things the right way. And, but I was just completely dead set on being a scholar athlete. I wanted to be perceived as someone that had higher education. And I knew that my education would carry me far faster or longer than my legs would.
Would you say this goes back to, your parents talking about being pros in two different areas?
They planted that seed early.
And then what about also, did you feel like you had a chip on your shoulder? You wanted to prove that you weren't just...
No, not like that. No, I took education has always been a priority in my life, especially because I struggled with learning young. Oh. And when I was younger, I really struggled with learning. By definition, they're calling it attention deficit disorder now. But when I was younger, it was called a short-term sensory...
all these labels, right?
Disconnect. So it was called my STS. My short-term sensory was great. My LTM, long-term memory, was not good. So my short-term sensory was super high, meaning you tell me something, I can recite it right then and there verbatim. You show me something, my mind, my eyes can record the muscle patterns, and I can mimic and emulate it, which is how I first learned how to be an athlete. I literally watched what they did and forced my body to do it. And which is, earlier in our workout, I said, this style of training is called look, see, do. That's where I got that from. Me. I'm a look, see, do person. I look at what the person's doing. I see how I can do it, and then I repeat it. I do it. So my body could record biomechanics.
Yeah.
And also remember certain speech patterns and
that's huge. I talk about that a lot with modeling people and seeing body movements, and you move like them. And I used to do that too with basketball all the time. I would watch point guards, you have to. And the way they move, you try and recreate it. Because if you can move like them, you can do what they do.
That's it.
One of the big things too, I found out, I did indoor skydiving for a while, and it was one thing that was always trying to get better and better with these tricks. I would record myself and watch myself do it, because as you watch, you learn what you're doing, and the biomechanics, you're like, wait, I thought we were working out, and thank God I had you right there to tell me, hey, shoulders back. Right. When we were doing the bicep curls, 180 degrees. When you said that to me, my arms were on fire when I started doing those reps.
Good.
That's like having a camera right there watching me, because now you're showing me where to put my arms. And if I put them, 20 degrees different, all of a sudden I feel it so much more because I'm doing the right biomechanics.
That's correct.
And that's really cool. I wanted to know, you struggled a little bit in college, but on paper, it sounds like you did amazing. Was there ever a moment where you said, I want to change something, a moment of failure, like something didn't happen that you wanted, or it doesn't have to be in college?
I made, yes. High school, the first time I ever did school, I was out with some friends who were older than me. They were seniors, I was a junior. They wanted to go to Azuma Beach and beg me, because at this point I was kind of establishing myself as the man on campus. Although I was younger, I was still the guy, right? I was growing into myself. And I finally said, you know what? Man, I'm going to do it. And I ditched. One day I ditched. We went to the beach and had a blast. On our way back from the beach, we got into a severe car accident. A truck, a large 18-wheeler going up the mountains, rear-ended my friend who was driving. I was sitting in the passenger front seat, and I hit my head on the side of the window and gave myself my first concussion that I know of. And the person driving bust their face open on the steering wheel, and the two people in the back seat were both unconscious. It was an aggressive impact. Allegedly, the driver fell asleep, and he just clipped us just a little. It was a little clip, but that truck, and we had like a little Jetta.
Yeah.
It just boom, and we hit the side rail and was in my front tire, and I was looking over the edge of that mountain. And as I kind of stumbled into it, all I can remember is feeling like needles shoot through my lips, my neck, my feet. My stomach was up here, and I'm like trying to grab myself. It happened fast, but I just grabbed the emergency brake, snatched it up, and we just, and then we flipped the other way. I don't remember the full details of kind of how it happened, but we did stop. No one was severely injured. I think he admitted that he fell asleep. But he didn't speak to me. He spoke to the driver. I was young, so I was like, oh my gosh, why did I ditch? Why did I do this? Why did I do this?
Yeah. Did that have an impact on how, because you double majored, did that send you?
That was in high school.
Yeah.
That didn't get me. It was what happened while I was ditching. So I go back to practice. I get dropped off at school. I go to practice and try to act like everything's cool. You
just got in a severe car accident and you go to practice.
I went to practice.
Okay.
I'm like, I got to be at practice. I miss school, but I got to be at practice, right? That same day, my mother was struck by a power line in the back of her head. She got electrocuted and she was in a coma the very same day. So the Santa Ana winds detached the power line. It zapped my mom. She went, what they said was over 40 feet across her office, flew across her office, smacked into a wall, and was completely unconscious, concussed. I believe she even knocked some teeth out. It was really as bad as it could be. Critical condition. So she's in ICU. I go back to school, and mind you, my phone has been blown up, but I'm thinking that it's someone trying to figure out why I'm ditching. So I didn't answer. The phone. Well, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to say I left my phone in my locker. It's all good. I go to practice. I hit my first couple of hurdles. I black out. I was concussed. I blacked out. First time I ever passed out. I wake up in the coach's arms on my way to the nurse. Well, we got to take him to the hospital because I was going in and out of consciousness, and they were trying to call, guess who?
Your mom.
And where was she?
She was in the
ICU.
Oh,
so they called my next guardian, which was my sister. She's blowing me up. Everybody's blowing me up. My cousins, my aunts, the whole nine. And I'm unconscious. Get escorted to the same hospital. We go to the same hospital. It's the only one, really, the major one in our proximity. So she's in intensive care, and I'm being looked at in this other place with no guardian except my coach. And no one could get a hold of my mom.
It's just...
So I'm not going to give you the full details, guys, because it was a lot of stuff and a lot of hours passed, but eventually I start to feel better. I actually finally realized I need to contact someone and tell them that I'm hurting. I was calling my mom. No answer. So I finally had to call my sister. I needed a ride. My sister, I finally get a hold of her. She's like, John, where are you? She said, Mom had an accident. Wait, what? Mom's in the hospital. It's not good. What? I'm freaking out. So I run down to the room where my mom is and I see her and I go, God, you bring my mom out of this. From now on, I am just straight shooting from now on.
Wow.
So she's sick, and that's a 2-year deal.
Took 2 years to recover?
2 years.
And she ended up being...
perfect.
Amazing.
She's perfect. My mother is, Mama, you strong, and I love you.
And you said, I'm staying the path.
Now, get this. Just 4 days after that, my father got into a car accident where he was paralyzed. My 6'8" pillar of a man father. I can't make this up. I wish I was. I wish this wasn't the truth. But it is. He was driving in Chicago and fell into a manhole. His van upended and he got a spinal compression because he was so tall, I guess. It just collapsed. Boom. Lost function of his legs for like 6 months or so. Whoa. So he was paralyzed. He had a major settlement from the city because the ground literally collapsed from under him while he was driving. And the manhole was over 6 feet. So it would have covered my head.
Wow.
It was just the ground just died from under him. No, poor maintenance or whatever. Erosion. I don't know.
Just the timing of all this happening so close together.
So I'm concussed. Both of my parents are jacked up. One's in a whole nother state. I'm trying to figure out how to take care of mom and be this great athlete guy. Right? Anyway, we got through it. I started working. I started training athletes at that time, making money, making income in high school at 15. Wow. When I was 15, I started being a coach. I've been coaching for now 16 years. Since I was 15, I've been training for compensation, and I haven't stopped. And the only time I paused was in college because I couldn't make money, but I most certainly never stopped training. Mm-hmm. I think that's where I refined myself as a trainer because I realized I had a smorgasbord of the highest performing level of athletes on earth right here at USC who were willing to let me train them. That was John Walker development right there.
So great segue. Just one, I'm glad your parents were okay after that time. And I can now understand this. You talked about double major, USC, the motivation. I see it now, and that's just incredible, an incredible strong belief too. Now you're training all these incredible athletes. You've got the best of the best. Help us understand, what do the top tier athletes do? What do you guys train? What's something that, an exercise that, you showed me some pretty amazing ones in our workout.
Right.
And that was, and a lot of good tools about, keeping the muscle under tension, the progressiveness of the bands and the bands. I've never really used bands like that, and I was blown away. I loved it. I'm going to have to go buy some.
Good.
What are some exercises you use in USC or in the NFL that you say, this is something that you want to grow, you want to become, an athlete. This is something you should do?
Personally, before I even go into exercises, I have to teach athletes how to master themselves. So,
are you talking about mentally?
Both mentally,
emotionally, and physically?
Emotionally, physically. Also, I got to get them to connect to what their goals are. Some athletes don't know what they want. Most athletes do not know what they want. They've been told what to do their whole careers. If you really think about the nature of an athlete, there are always people that take instruction. Not very much critical thinking involved with high-level performance. They have a coach. Most are in a team environment and have been sheltered and catered to and regimented. When an athlete becomes independent or self-sufficient, it's the first time they really tap into their true and fullest potential, because now it's all on them. Like, you model a guy like Conor McGregor, who is, I think, right now the number one athlete on the planet. I believe that. Not that he's the greatest athlete, I didn't say that, but I think he's number one. Number one, most recognized and most polarizing, in my opinion, because he crosses over into so many regions. He's a motivational speaker. He's a philanthropist. He's an entrepreneur. He's a sportsman. He's a fighter. He's a gamer.
And that all starts with make sure you're focused on your goals, what you want out of this.
Make sure you understand, you know who you are and what drives you. Because I've heard so many athletes tell me, man, it ain't about the money. It's the love of the game. So you're lying. And I call them out on it. You're lying. You did not become a professional athlete just because you love the game. The game has butchered you. The game has broken you. The game has hurt you. For lack of better terms, you've been molested by the game. It has used you up, and you've been bitter and cried bloody tears. I promise you, if you're at this level, it has not been sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows.
Right.
But it's the pursuit of the gold that keeps you invested. It's the glory that helps you stick with it. It's the fact that you can build a legacy and a life from what you're doing, and you can get notoriety, and you also get to play this thing that you love. So, is it about the money? And they're like, no, man, I'm telling you. Okay, so you do this for free then? Heck no.
Yeah, right.
Heck no. No, they're going to pay me. Okay, well then let's find a balance. And let's understand why you do what you do and what you deserve to do what you do. And once you get them to be honest and kind of vulnerable, I call it keeping it hot. All right? Don't steal my acronym. Actually, I stole it from someone else. So. But it works. It works. It's called being honest, being open, and being transparent. And from a coach to an athlete, if you're not keeping it hot, you will not have a successful relationship.
That's the biggest thing. So I know we didn't get into a specific exercise necessarily because it's so,
there is one.
So detailed. Would you say just if somebody wants to get fit, just start with anything? Is it consistency then?
Okay, so if you want to get fit, if you really want to get fit, you have to understand your reason why. If you know your why, then you can lay other things on top of that foundation. But the why I'm doing this is the thing that will carry you. Because when it hurts, when it's burning, when it doesn't appear to be working, when you're tired or lethargic or even injured, when you're hungry and you're dieting, when someone insults you and you know how hard you've worked, you've lost 16 pounds in a month and someone calls you fat. Oh my gosh. I deal with those types of people often. If they don't understand why they're doing it, they lose their grip strength. and they can't hold on to it anymore. So it doesn't matter what exercise I tell them to do.
Mm-hmm.
They won't connect to it. It will be irrelevant, right? So my goal is to teach people how to strengthen their grip in life on why.
Yeah.
Why? Why am I holding on to this so much? Why is this the only thing that I have to stay focused on? I cannot allow this to let go.
So let's kind of knock out some training questions that I'm just curious as an elite trainer. What are some ways that you do warm-ups? Mm-hmm. Do you stretch and recoveries too?
Okay. So I do stretch. I'm a stretcher, but I stretch post-workout, not pre.
Okay.
I do a series of specific movements, commonly known as plyometrics.
Yeah.
They're plyos, right? So I do all these biorhythmical patterning that allows for my body to synchronize itself with my breathing. And mostly it's a bunch of anaerobic short bursts that really activate my fast twitch system.
How long do you do that for usually?
It usually takes me about 15 minutes to go through a series of like 20 movements.
Okay. And that's always post-workout, every workout?
Pre-workout.
Or pre-workout?
Pre-workout.
So pre-workout, you do the plyometric?
That's correct.
Okay.
So instead of stretching, I use that to activate. I move.
And so plyometric, I remember plyometrics as being like kind of jumping on boxes.
Right.
Explosive
That's
movement.
a form of plyo, box jumps. But plyometric, by definition, technically is any time you separate from the ground.
Okay. Whether
it's an inch or centimeter. So I may do like fast feet movement, little high knees or A skips, butt kicks, like any type of quick popping with my feet, rotations, high knee karaoke.
Reminds me of my football days.
That's it.
For sure.
And those type of techniques just literally condition your muscles and create thermodynamic energy is really what it is. I just didn't want to sound too scientific, but you have to get dynamic energy surging through your body to open up your body's muscle pathways.
And it's an easy way to warm up so that you're prepared to take on any kind of
That's training. Right. You activate and warm up. You get a nice little lather going. Now your muscle's more available. Okay. If I'm going to lift, then I may use some bands to just stimulate and activate my muscles, and I get after it.
I like that. What's a typical, I don't know if you're a typical guy, but what kind of training programs do you kind of follow? Sometimes weightlifters will do like a 3-day split. If someone was just a beginner or an intermediate, what would you put them on?
Well, I'm going to target every muscle group over probably a 3 to 5 day split. And I'm going to pinpoint each muscle that they want to touch, and we're going to nuke it.
Do you do one muscle per day, or does you sometimes do
No, I may do muscle groups.
Muscle groups.
So if we're going to go legs, I always combine full legs.
Okay. So legs are always their own day?
Their own day, because most people get nauseous and black out.
And then you jump into upper body over maybe 2 or 3 other days?
That's correct. So then I'll keep back, strictly back, because there's so many muscles in the back. I don't want to blend it with anything else. A lot of guys do back and biceps. I'll do back by itself. I'll do shoulders by itself. I'll do chest by itself. And then I'll always do arms together. That's biceps and triceps together.
And I felt that superset we did, my arms were, I wish they stayed that big all the time.
Well, they can if you just
keep at it.
Just keep them pumped up. They will stay that big.
Great. So that's like a 4 to 5 day split.
That's
roughly.
correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
How many days a week would you recommend people work out? Every day.
No. Working out is fine to do every day, believe it or not. But in my program, we don't speak working out. We don't work out here. I know it's funky. So I think that there's like levels to it. There's exercise, and that's like, I'm going to go hiking, surfing, swimming, that's good exercise, and it helps with fitness. Then there's working out. Means I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to lift some weights. I will do some cardio. I will run on the elliptical. I may even row. Then there's training. Training is a completely different animal. It takes you somewhere. Training is physiological, neurological, central nervous system breakdown. We're going to butcher every ounce of weakness in your body and teach you how to overcome some real stuff. Training is where you develop courage and confidence. Training is where you become educated about life and how to teach people how to become leaders as you learn how to be one. Training gives you wisdom. Training gives you patience and tolerance. Training teaches you how to sacrifice your comfort level to where you're never a stranger to hard work.
It's funny. My dad always talked about, working out, but how sports has trained us for life. And he played football in college. He was in the Hall of Fame for UNLV.
Awesome.
And yeah, he's an amazing athlete. And I always looked up to him, and so I always kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps. Mm-hmm. And I did it too, and I still do it, where the training that I've taken from sports as a kid, from basketball, football, to working out, to men's fitness and competitions, I found that work ethic, that kind of wisdom, knowing yourself, knowing that you can push yourself, I apply into everything.
Everything.
And it's so helpful. And I think it's an easy way for a lot of people to learn that. Mm-hmm. Because I think my favorite thing about training is that I work hard and then I see a result.
Boom.
I work harder, I see a bigger result.
Boom, boom.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
And so I think that it's been a phenomenal journey, and that translation, like you talked about the wisdom, translation to every area of life.
Yes.
And it teaches you. And
I've learned a lot. Compete. You have to learn how to compete. Yeah. That's it. I think that's my why. That's a big part of my why. I'm just going to fight. I'm going to fight and fight and fight. I am going to give it my very best shot every rip. If you can handle it, good on you.
I'm similar to that, in that one of the other whys that I have besides my future children is that, one, I always want to help people, but one of the other ones is that I think that we all have potential. And I don't want to end up 80 years old, 90 years old, sitting there knowing that I had potential and I didn't use it. Right. Knowing that I had the opportunity and I didn't take advantage of it, or I didn't work hard enough because at the time I was tired or lazy or anything like that. So I constantly push and push and push.
That's right.
To be the best me every single day. My goal is always just to be better than I was yesterday.
That's a great goal.
Cool, man. Few other questions just about so after exercise, you do some stretching.
I do.
Do you ever do massage?
Yes.
Massage, yeah.
I'm huge into percussion therapy. Percussion.
Okay. The cups?
I like cupping. I like grafting, scraping. There's in college, they used to call it DMS, deep muscle stimulators. Mm-hmm. Essentially, it's like a little portable jackhammer that knocks out the lactic acid and busts down scar tissue and tension in muscle knots that are
So massage, I know that too. There's a little lactic acid buildup that causes all that muscle soreness.
That's correct.
If you get rid of that, you can recover faster. You can work out sooner. All that good stuff.
It's everything is functional.
Is there anything that you use at home, or besides a professional massage?
Those tools, I purchased them.
Oh, okay. What's the name of it?
It's called. It doesn't have a scientific term. One is called a DMS. There's another one by Hyperice called a Raptor.
A Raptor. Okay.
And then the one that I use is now being coined as the MD, the myofascial device, but there is no market for it yet. It's actually just a very newer style of therapy. It usually costs about $4,000. You have to get them made. They're grade 1 medical tools.
Okay.
Plug that boy into the wall and literally you can it's like, and it gets all the knots out. It's pretty incredible.
All right. So $4,000 is a little bit of an expensive investment.
And there's massage chairs.
Okay.
There's the Homedics little handheld portable massagers that they really help. They go a long way.
Just to get that pressure point.
Absolutely.
What about, the foam rolling?
Foam rolling is huge.
Yeah. Okay. And I've seen foam rollers with
vibrators.
Vibrators. I didn't know that. I've seen the ones that they're really hard points.
Yeah.
Kind of just getting in that deep tissue.
Some people love those. For beginners, I don't suggest that until you develop a tolerance.
It's intense, yeah.
But foam rollers are amazing. The only trick with foam rollers are most people don't know how to use them very correctly. And so they're not getting the exact great benefit. It's more superficial. But when you use a foam roller well enough, brother, it gets deep. It's excruciating when you do it well.
I used it for that back injury I told you about. And when I was recovering, I realized that my IT band was really tight.
That's right.
It was some of the most painful 5 minutes of my life.
It's intense. It make your eyes blink for sure.
Anything else that you use afterwards? Sometimes I'll jump in a sauna or do like an ice bath. Or do you ever...
Ice bath? I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah.
I just suggest never put heat on sore muscles ever.
Okay.
To me, you got to think of it this way: your body is technically it's meat. If you cook a steak and it's cooked well, that's similar to burning up your muscle in a gym. And then you're going to go home and then cook it some more. It becomes harder, tougher.
Interesting. Some people say that kind of relaxes it, but I use ice a lot.
It does relax it in that moment because heat does allow for expansion.
Uh-huh.
But as soon as it cools down, more trauma.
Oh.
You've just burned those muscles further. So that's why I always encourage ice, because ice does everything for preservation and recuperation.
Nice. We didn't touch on this a little bit in our training session, just about some exercises specifically for glute activation for my girlfriend.
Yeah.
What would be like a big difference between training men versus women?
In general?
In general, yeah.
Okay. Well, most men will steer away from cardio style of techniques, because a lot of the men, at least that I have experience working with, are not trying to lose excessive amounts of muscle.
Right.
They want to bulk or build up. Or if they're fighters and they're cutting weight, that's different, right?
Yeah.
But they have a pretty good understanding of how to do that anyway. They've been doing it most of their career. So I don't have to over push with that. But most women have this, I want to burn fat, build muscle, tone my arms and glutes and legs. It's pretty universal. And because that's what, I guess, popular belief is, that's what makes a woman attractive.
Right.
Or having those defined features.
I see girls all the time doing cardio constantly. We talked a little bit about girls getting into weightlifting.
Yes.
Do you think cardio is the answer for that? Or
to burn fat?
To burn fat or tone up?
Muscle, no. Resistance work is the number one way to burn fat. It's not even close, especially because resistance training has a propensity to allow you to burn higher. You have higher caloric expenditure up to 7 hours longer than cardio. Wow. Cardio increases your heart rate. But the way I think of life is not so much as years or your age. I think of your life as a battery. Your heart is the battery for your life. Batteries get used up. And the average human heart has 3.3 to 3.8 billion beats in a lifetime. Are you going to waste all those batteries doing all this crazy cardio and running and just accelerating your heart rate for so long? Wasting beats. Or you can resistance train, do moderate cardio, increase your heart rate for an hour, so that on an average after that, and that's what strength and moderate cardio will do for you. Because if you watch the lifespan of a person that focuses on cardio for 20 years versus a person of the same age that focuses on strength training, that cardio person is withered away by the time they're 80.
Well, it's like if you look at a marathon runner versus
so really, I don't understand why there's still so many myths and misconceptions about the great benefits of cardio, runners, all these people that focus on so much cardio. Look at what happens to them. Overusage of muscle, bones and joints, crushed, terrible feet, hip and knee replacement.
The knee and hip too, because it's so much abuse, right?
Everything. They get ball and socket injuries. When you look at that bodybuilder who's 80, he may be a little bit flabby, but that dude is still sound in mind. He may have some arthritis, but the runner has more, or, just as much or more, but he's still sound. He has all his faculties. He's still cracking jokes. Yeah. He's available because throughout his life, he kept creating and regenerating new tissues.
So for the women, you'd recommend kind of going towards
strength, ladies. Strength. You're not going to get big. You understand? I've been trying to get big for like 14, 15 years, and this is all I got. I've been lifting heavy for a long time. You're not going to get big from lifting weights. You have to be so over obsessed with getting big. You're not going to get big. You'll get stronger and stay toned.
And I agree with you. And I tell girls all the time, because I think that there's that misconception that I'm getting bigger. And really, I'm saying I want to get bigger. Yes. You have to eat so much food.
You have no idea.
And it's just, they think that that's what's going on. And then you see girls who, squat 135 pounds and they're 100 pounds themselves. You're like, wow. And they're so tiny.
That's right.
One last question about training for ladies is, they focus heavily on the glutes, right?
Yes.
I love deadlifts, and I know that gets a lot of glute activation. We did some glute activation with the hip thrusts and the rubber bands. What's one exercise that you think is a good booty building exercise?
I think one of the most consistent glute activation, not glute building, right? Because you said glute activation.
So if you can give me one for glute activation and one for...
Well, your classic traditional glute bridges are pretty much the cornerstone of
the activation
of booty development.
Oh, okay.
It just does, because you can compress it from the contracted stage, or you can add load to it and fire up. Also, it keeps your, it helps you develop erector spine strength, which if you're going to train a lot of glutes, you better also train your lower back to be strong enough to support those glutes.
Do you do back extensions?
I like back extensions for back, but even Superman's from a frontal plane in a prone position, and just arch your back and your feet up at the same time, so that you're
laying on your belly,
laying on your stomach.
You lift your feet and your hands
at the same time.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah,
and that also engages glutes when you squeeze your cheeks.
Yeah,
it engages your buns back there as well.
That's a good exercise. I don't usually do that.
It really is a great exercise. And also any type of like single leg lunging or single leg presses where you're heel heavy. You're going to pick up glute, because the best way to tone glute, in my opinion, is to shape and tone the hamstring and the lower back, because then the glute becomes more pronounced, and then you see it. Once you visually can see it, you can understand how to target it greater. And just every exercise you want to incorporate glutes in becomes more available, because you can see it working.
Yeah, and you create that, what we talk about, that mind-muscle connection.
That's it. You have to know how to communicate with your body.
I appreciate that, and that's I work with training and my girlfriend a lot, and
Great.
I'm always trying to like find a new piece of information and make it a little better. So that's perfect. One other thing too is, I was talking to one of my favorite podcasters, actually. His name's Pat Flynn, and he's about my height, roughly 5'8", and he's been trying to touch the rim for a while. And I had talked a little bit about the deadlifts. I think we might have mentioned once before, the hex bar deadlifts.
Yes.
I was wondering, like, if you want to increase your vertical jump, what's an exercise training that I could do to jump higher? White man can't jump. Sorry, guys.
Well, a lot of explosiveness comes from how well you chamber your hip. So if you don't even have explosive properties in your hips or your glutes, you're not going to get up at that high. So a lot of people think that jumping just comes from their quads and bigger muscles, but you got to make sure your hip flexors can actually allow you to load and get the proper push and extension. But really, jumping high is nothing but force application. How much pressure and force can you put into the ground before you go up? If you don't have much force application, you're not going to borrow much energy from the ground. Remember, it's the same principles. For every action, equal and opposite react. So if I can put 250 pounds of pressure into the ground when I load into it, it's going to supply me with the same amount of pressure. Now, my body and my muscles better be strong enough to handle that load, and then I can utilize technique to have greater utilization of the muscle.
I did notice that when I was lifting heavier with squats, and I go about 90 degrees, so that I didn't touch the rim in years, and I was also heavier, but I was able to get back up to it.
That's right. You need strength.
So would you say like a low rep, high weight, and really trying to explode out of every single rep?
Yes, but then also work the eccentric component. Instead of just dropping down, lower, slower.
Okay.
Lower, slower, pop up. Lower, slower, pop up, like the negative.
Squats only or deadlifts or what?
I think that you can mix both. You just need great technique and make sure your posture doesn't break down. You see, I'm visualizing the athlete doing it as we speak, and I'm seeing great users of technique, and then I'm seeing poor people who don't understand proper technique, so their mechanics are off. You know, all training can be a bonus or detriment depending upon the technique or the efficiency you have.
So I've never been able to dunk like a tennis ball, but you know, if I wanted to get back into it right now, what would you tell me to do?
I'm gonna say, one, you have to start jumping.
Yes. I don't jump right now, so that's good.
You have to jump. You have to do jump techniques, jump knee tucks. You have to do bounds to get your proprioceptors.
Jump knee tucks.
Yes, where you jump.
Okay.
And then your knees tuck up as high as you can and land under control, not jump, land, and then absorb the shock. Jump, and then you jump and pull your knees up.
Got it.
The split leg jumps, where you're going like 90 degrees.
Do you go all the way down? Kind of.
I always stay about 1.5 inches above collision from the ground with my knee.
With your knee. Okay.
But I keep my chest 90 degrees with my back leg. Okay. So I never lean forward.
Great. So we got some strength training and then some plyometrics.
Explosive training.
Awesome.
That's right.
All right. Kind of to finish up everything. So I believe in the 80-20 rule.
Okay.
All right. 80% of the results we get come from 20% of our actions.
Yes.
If there is one or two actions that somebody could take today to become better in training or in fitness or whatever, obviously we have to define the goal, right?
Right.
But what's something that they can do today to help them?
Today, if someone wants to get help, go find someone that you trust, that you believe in. Hopefully you have someone like that in your life. Tell them your story. Tell them your struggle and what you hope to accomplish. And as a friend or a loved one or just a trusted confidant, ask them to keep you encouraged and to hold you accountable. Because inherently, no one wants to be a liar. Even liars hate to be called liars. So if you tell someone that you trust and believe in that, gosh darn it, you're going to do it, you do not want to disappoint them or be a liar to them. And this person has to have enough moxie to call you out on your crap when you try to make excuses. Because I've got about 50 people that will hold me extremely accountable, or else I am just a fraction of who you see today. And my 2 daughters are the main ones. Those little rugrats are vicious. They say, Daddy, you said.
Dang, I gotta stop saying it out loud.
Dang, I sure did say that. I sure did say that.
I love that. Accountability, or finding someone to hold you accountable and encourage you.
Huge.
Because we all hit those struggles. We all hit the stops of where I've been working out for 3 months and I didn't really get the results that I wanted. And now, you know what, I'm just going to kind of taper off. I don't want people to give up, and finding a good partner like that can really help.
It's super important. It's super important. You just want somebody to help you stay on track. You know, you need a wingman. You need a co-pilot. You do need a designated driver. You need somebody that can share in your victories and maybe your struggles. And because to keep that stuff a secret, and when you're struggling through something, that's how you learn how to cower and hide from things. But when you keep it hot and put it on the table, keep it honest, keep it open, keep it transparent, that person can look you in your face and go, Corey, stop freaking making excuses, bro, and just do it. It's going to hurt, but you already signed up for this.
I feel like you're talking to me about things that I haven't done, and I've gotta do them right now. So I'm loving it, and I'm going to keep it hot. Jaywalk, I've been training for 20 years, and I've learned so much in the last 2 hours that I can't believe I didn't know to this day. And I can't thank you enough for this opportunity, this great experience. You're an amazing trainer.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, man, you're awesome.
Thank you, man. I feel the sentiments are equally shared. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
I value you, and I cherish our new friendship.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, one last question for you is, what is your next level of success?
Okay. My dream is to be worth $400 million. That's my dream. That's my magnificent obsession. That's
a random number.
It's random to you, but very, very meaningful to me, which I'll keep to me.
Got it. Okay. Is there a reason why you want to?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you share that?
There's some work that needs to be done.
Okay.
There's some work in the community and outside of this nation that desperately needs to be done. Because you know how people say, I don't care what people think about me. I don't know if that's true or not. Because I've tried to live that way. I've tried to not care what people think about me. And no matter how hard I try, deep down, I always do hope people enjoy their experience with me or are always saying pleasant things about me. I think I have a inherent need for that. You know, I think all people have a very, very specific desire to, number one, be loved, be healthy, to have someone to love, and to feel needed. You know, I think those are things that people have to feel. And so if I didn't care what people thought about me, I think I'd be contradicting some of my core beliefs. So I care what people think about me. It's why I manicure myself. You know, it's why I brush my teeth and shave. If I didn't care, I wouldn't care. Right. So I do care. And at the end of the day, I really care that when I'm done and my footsteps are no longer walking this earth, I pray that the foundation of my strides are laid so deep into the fabric of this earth that I've definitively laid my thumbprint here and you will remember me.
You're an amazing person, and you're going to do amazing things, and you got a lot of inspiring stories, I believe you're just getting started.
Thank you. I believe so as well.
So for everybody who's been listening to this and they made it all the way to the end, where can we find you, learn more about you online?
I'm terrible at social media. I'm working on it. I have to stop saying I'm terrible. But guys, I'm on Instagram at John Walker Pro. All spelled correctly, JohnWalkerPro. And I'm on Facebook as John Walker Performance Training. And my facility here is in beautiful Southern California, Foothill Ranch. The address is 19681 Da Vinci, Foothill Ranch, California. And my gym is called the Motivate Performance Center. Many more to come. This is one of many future franchises. And I hope you reach out. I want to get to know you. I want to know your story. I want you to understand that there's someone here that is committed to love you relentlessly. No matter what it is you may be going through, there is someone here that will stride for stride walk with you, and hopefully we can learn from one another. I'm not just saying that. I really mean it. DM me. Call me. My number is public. You can Google it. It's there. Reach out to me. If you need someone to talk to about whatever it may be, please, I'm here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
All right. Let's take some action today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Jay Walker.
Thank you, brother.
If you guys enjoyed the show and learned something of value, the one ask that we have is please go subscribe. If you'd like to leave us a 5-star rating and review, that definitely helps us get our message out there. Because each week I'm going to interview amazing people, and I want to be able to give you more and more tools and strategies that get you real results. Feel free to connect with me on Facebook or Instagram at Corey Corpodian, or just visit the website at unleashsuccess.com. Remember, knowing is not enough. Knowledge alone is not power. Action is. Because action is the only way to get the results you want in life and truly live the life of your dreams. So go take some action. Subscribe to the podcast and get ready to unleash success in you.